When I'm traveling, I meet so many people from all over the world, and whenever I ask about their favorite city in Europe, Prague comes up a lot. So I thought I should experience it myself and see why it leaves such an impression on so many people. I started exploring at around 11 a.m. on a Friday, and there was just too many people around. When I saw how crowded it was, I was actually dreading to explore, but once I got into the crowd, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It seems like a lot of people were on tour groups, so they weren't staying at a spot for so long. This is the Charles Bridge, and this area reminds me of this place in Luxembourg called the Grund. This Charles Bridge is one of the most tourist spots in Prague, so I guess it's expected to see so many tourists. To be fair though, after some time, I would say about 30 to 40 minutes, the crowd started to clear up and there weren't that many people after. This river is called Towera River. I hope that's how it's pronounced. If not, I'm sorry for the bad pronunciation. It's the longest river in Czechia. It actually flows entirely within Czech borders. Boat tours or cruises are available on this river, so if that's your thing, my advice is to book any tours in advance. Because I was not able to get on a few of them. They were fully booked. I mean, you can see how many tourists visit the city, so most activities do get fully booked. Compared to many cities in Europe, Prague was not targeted for bombing during World War II. However, there was a navigation error, poor weather conditions, and some confusion over landmarks. This led to some American soldiers bombing Prague instead of their target, which was Dresden. It was still not as devastated as other cities, though. If you're wondering why Prague was not targeted, well, I've read a lot of explanations on this, like it's because of its historical and cultural value. But then again, the other targeted cities also had history and culture, no? So I don't think it was based on this. But the explanation I believe in the most is that the Soviets were expected to liberate Prague and there was some reluctance among Western allies to heavily bomb areas that were soon to fall under Soviet control. Prague was under Nazi rule at this time, so it was believed that the Soviets will liberate Prague. Another reason I believe is that it lacked major military industrial targets. But whatever the reason was, it did help to preserve most of Prague's Baroque architecture. That's why the city is so beautiful. My footage is not even doing it justice. It's also a very clean city for its size. Paris and Brussels should really take notes. I was in Prague for 3 days and did not smell any piss. This is the Old Town Square. Here you'll find the astronomical clock. It's the third oldest astronomical clock in the world and the oldest still in operation. I went inside the clock tower and this was the view from the tower. I was surprised that there weren't that many people trying to get inside the tower. But there were also a lot of people observing from the outside. Then I found out that every hour the clock puts on a show of moving figures. It has the 12 apostles, a skeleton. Lord knows why though. Why is there a skeleton on the clock? I didn't get to see the show though. I found out about it after I already left this area. When you go inside the clock tower, the view's not that clear. It's got bars around the windows. I had to stick out my phone through the bars just to get a good shot. So it was about 18 euros per person without a guide. And to use the lift or elevator, you have to pay extra. Otherwise, you have to go through the stairs. The tower on the opposite end is the twin towers of the Our Lady Church. You can also visit the church from here. It was closed when I was there though. Apparently its interior is very beautiful, so if you plan to visit this square, you can also add that to your list. This bit reminded me of Vienna, the horses, carriages, and the architecture in the background. Another way to get good views of the city is through the National Museum. The entrance fee is about €12 and you have to go all the way up to the dome. Here you don't have to pay for the lift. The windows are bigger, so it's good if you want to take pictures. And the museum itself is very beautiful. Personally, I think you get more value for your money with the museum compared to the clock tower, because the entrance fee also gives you access to the displays in the museum. With the clock tower, it's just the clock, but with the museum, you get the views, beautiful interior, Czech history, natural history, culture, and more. I mean, it has a collection of over 15 million items, so the €12 they're asking for is really not bad. The interior looks a lot like a museum I went to in Vienna. I forgot the name. I have to say, after visiting so many European countries and museums, most of the cities are starting to look so similar. I like that in this museum you're given a chance to hold some medieval gear just to get a sense of how much things might have weighed. And this stuff was heavy. This museum has something for everyone, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're traveling with kids. The natural history area just seems to be perfect for toddlers. Prague has a lot of libraries you can visit as well, but as I said before, you need to book most activities in advance because they do get fully booked. I really wanted to visit Clementinum, but it was fully booked. Anyway, another library you can visit is the Strahov Library. This is Prague's main train station. It's definitely one of the most beautiful train stations I've been to. There were no druggies in sight. Absolutely nobody was looking suspicious. And it doesn't smell. I'm honestly so impressed. Most of the big European train stations I've been to have like a tick list. The smell of piss, druggies, at least 2 people looking suspicious. Yeah, I'm talking about Frankfurt, Milan, Brussels, Paris. Actually, all of the stations in Paris, not just the main ones. To get on the trams, you can either buy a ticket or you can just tap with your credit or debit card inside the tram. The center has a lot of coffee shops and corner shops selling herbs, the ones that are illegal in most countries. If I show these types of shops or talk about them, YouTube keeps shadow banning the videos. What that means is that it won't recommend it to other viewers. I do have a video on my page though where I show these types of shops. So yeah, check out the Czech culture shock video on my page if you want to see what I'm talking about. Actually, one thing I really didn't appreciate was seeing so many of these shops making the herbs the selling point. This was coming off as too gimmicky. I mean, a few shops here and there is fine, but to see almost every shop in certain streets advertising this and making it the focal point of the shop or coffee shop was a bit too gimmicky. And what's up with the countless sex toys on display in some of these shops? This is the Dancing House. It's one of Prague's most famous landmarks. Inside it, there's a rooftop restaurant and bar. Around this area, there's also quite a few restaurants and bars. I really like the whole vibe in this area. It's definitely one of my favorite places in Prague. The architecture is so beautiful as well. I absolutely loved these cafes along the river with the giant round doors. And most of them do not come off as gimmicky like some cafes on the other streets in Prague. When it comes to food, you can easily find chimney cakes quite easily in Prague. I've actually never tried a chimney cake before. I'm sure they're good since a lot of people like them. I just haven't tried any. I see a lot of nuts around them and I'm not a big fan of nuts in pastry. And I have to say, the pastries I tried in Czechia, and this includes all of the cities I visited, the pastry is the best I've ever had. All of it was just my taste, and I recommend this cafe called Litzika. I think that's how you pronounce it. For actual food, I recommend this restaurant called Vitopina or Meat and Beer on Rouse. It doesn't matter how old you are, I think you would love this restaurant. It kind of works like a conveyor belt sushi restaurant, but in this case, it's got little trains bringing your order. And they come to your table with your order, but you also see other people's orders going to their table. So once an order is sent to your table, the train stops at your table for a few seconds. This is to give you time to take your food or drinks. Then it automatically starts moving again. The menu had mainly pub food, but the best pub food you can have. And of course, if you love beer, then this is your place. Also, for the drinks, I like that there was a variety of what you can have. They had different types of lemonades for people like me who don't drink. I'm so tired of when I go to some restaurants and if you don't drink beer or wine, then you're limited to Coke, juice and water, which is ridiculous. So for 2 lemonades and a meal for 2, this came up to 98 euros. So this restaurant is not exactly cheap because if it's pub food, then I would expect it to be a bit cheaper. But I saw that they make a lot of things from scratch. I saw this lovely lady kneading dough to bake bread, which I'm guessing it was for the burger buns. Cantina is another restaurant I would recommend for Prague. This one serves more traditional Czech cuisine. A lot of people actually recommended this when I was doing my research for this trip. It is canteen style, so you go and get the food yourself. You don't get a waiter coming to your table to take the order. It's good in that you don't wait for long to get your food. But I know some people have an issue with that because they want to be served the food at their table. Personally, I don't care. The food was good and the prices were good too. So you pay according to how much you eat. All of this came up to 43 euros with 2 drinks. So it's way cheaper than the meat and beer on Royal's restaurant. For cocktails, Kelixir was decent. It's basically like an alchemical lab bar. It's got this lab decor, which I thought was really cool. It felt like you've walked into some mad scientist lab. The art on the walls was wild and explicit though. I was surprised to see some people had their kids with them. I just can't imagine taking any of my nephews and nieces here. The amount of questions they would ask me that I wouldn't be able to answer. But I guess we all come from different cultures. The drinks come in test tubes and they have dry ice in them to give them this chemical reaction effect. I don't remember the prices, but it was quite cheap. So if you're looking for something exciting, then Kelixir is a good choice. For people who love arcades, Prague has the Levels arcade. And honestly, I had so much fun here. I'm not even into video games like that, but this arcade is decent. So I highly recommend it. I would say this is suitable for the whole family. Well, it's not suitable for babies and toddlers because they do play really loud music. It's located right at the center, so you can easily have a night out. On weekends, they open from 10 a.m. till 2 a.m. And on weekdays, it's from 10 a.m. till midnight. They have 120 to 150 arcade games. They also have classics like Pac-Man, Street Fighter, and they also have VR racing simulators, so they have all sorts of games depending on what you like. This place is actually quite big. When I was there, 2 floors were opened. It has a bar, a restaurant, and more. I was actually surprised to see it didn't have that many people on a Friday night. Like, what do people do on a Friday night in Prague? I would expect this place to be packed. Or is it that most tourists don't know about it? There was hardly anybody on most of the games, so there were no queues whatsoever. Apparently, this is the largest entertainment center in Prague. And I have to say, the games are quite expensive, so make sure you're prepared to spend some cash, otherwise you're going to be really bored. Prices differ between weekends and weekdays. You can buy 60-minute tickets or all-day passes. But these passes, you can't play games that reward you with prizes. You have to pay extra for those. Now, for the day activities, I went to this Infinity Book Tower. It's not that amazing, even though it's very famous. It's not as big as I thought it would be. The queue was long though. There were so many influencers taking the same pic like 500 times. and just delaying everybody. For the hotel, I stayed in the Red Lion Hotel. It was about £100 per night, including breakfast for two. It's right in the city center on a hill, so I would not recommend this if you don't want to be walking up the hill, unless you plan to be booking taxis. The art on the ceiling was wild. I mean, why does this look so demonic? So, you get coffee maker in the room, and to be fair, the room was very clean. It had everything I needed, and it was very close to a lot of landmarks. Well, if you ignore the hill. You also get a mini fridge. For breakfast though, you have to walk up to another hotel just a few meters away, which was a bit annoying. And I was actually late for breakfast every morning, so I couldn't record it. Just walking around Prague was beautiful. I loved the green spaces. And you also do come across random street art like this. I don't even know what this is. One last thing, the airport has these Uber machines, so you can actually book your taxis here, which I think is very convenient, and every airport should at least have this. I totally get the hype about Prague. It's a very beautiful city. It's cleaner than a lot of big cities in Europe. It has lots of things to do for both day and night, and the food is amazing. And for the people who love beer, apparently the beer is amazing. I don't drink, but apparently it's amazing and cheap. It's definitely a top 10 of mine, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite city. I feel like there's just too many gimmicks going on, especially in the cafes or convenience shops. And these gimmicks overpower the real charm of the city. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.